On the edge of a small town in Texas, there stood an old, dilapidated school. The school was called Lincoln Elementary. Once this place was filled with children's laughter, games, and education. But about 30 years ago, after a terrible incident, the school was closed forever. People said that one day a fire suddenly broke out. The children and a teacher in the classrooms did not have a chance to get out. The screams of dozens of children and smoke engulfed the entire school. After that day, the walls of the school were filled with the smell of burning, and the ceilings also turned black. The school has been closed since that day, and the people of the town call it a cursed place. Dark night and a challenge. The story begins on a cold and deserted night. For friends Mark, Alex, Sarah, and Jessica were sitting in a cafe in the town. They were all university students and often told each other scary stories at night. That night, Mark laughed and said, "You all believe in hearsay. There are no ghosts, no demons. If you all have the courage, let's go to Lincoln School tonight." Alex replied with a light laugh. "Do you know that whoever goes in gets their name written on the register list? That register is still kept in the principal's room." Sarah said in a frightened tone, "I heard from my grandmother that the register writes itself. Whoever goes there, the next day people find their name written on those black pages." But Jessica added, "Yes, to Mark's, yes. Come on, I'm ready. These are all just stories." Finally, everyone decided that at midnight they would go to the school and make a video. There with their phones to show everyone that nothing was real. The school door, the clock struck midnight. The four friends stood in front of the school with flashlights and mobile phones. The door was rusty and had wooden planks. Mark forcibly broke a board and made a way to enter. As soon as he entered, a cold wind hit his body, as if the walls of the school were still giving off the smell of smoke and ash. The sound of their footsteps could be heard as they walked down the corridor. But the strange thing was that the sound echoed and doubled. Alex whispered softly, "Did you guys hear it?" As if someone else was walking with us. But Mark joked, "Don't be afraid. It's just the echo of an empty building." Children's voices as they approached an old classroom. Suddenly, the sound of children's laughter came from inside. The four of them froze for a moment. Sarah said tremblingly, "This is the laughter of children." Mark mustered up the courage and pushed the door open. Inside, the classroom was completely empty. Broken desks, dusty blackboards, and old burnt posters on the walls. But as soon as they entered, the chalk on the blackboard started moving on its own. Everyone looked at them with frightened eyes. The board was slowly writing, "Welcome. You are about to get a place in the register." The principal's office. Everyone moved forward despite their fear. Walking in the darkness, they reached the very end of the school, where the principal's office was. The door had an old iron lock on it, but it slowly opened on its own. As soon as they entered the room, a table was lying in front of them, on which was an old book, the same infamous register. Its pages were black and burnt, but the strange thing was that today's date was written on it. Mark went closer and looked at the register. His heart beat faster. On the first page it was written, Mark Jones. On the second page, Alex Parker. On the third, Sarah Smith. On the fourth, Jessica Hudson. The four of them looked at each other. How was this possible? They had just come in, but their names were already written down. Suddenly, the room was plunged into darkness. The window panes began to break, and the shadows of the children began to run on the walls. Their laughter had now turned into screams. Sarah shouted, "We have to get out of here now!" Sarah's scream echoed throughout the room. The four friends ran towards the door, looking for each other in the darkness. But as soon as they started to leave, the door closed on its own. The rusty latch was so tight that no one could open it. The pages of the register in the room began to turn automatically. With each page turning, the screams of children could be heard, as if a story was written on each sheet. Suddenly, a dim ray of light emerged from the register and spread across the room. A blurry scene emerged in front of them. That scene was 30 years ago, when the school was engulfed in fire. The children were running away screaming, but the doors were locked. A teacher was trying to save them, but was himself engulfed in flames. And then these words appeared on the register. "These names will never end. Whoever comes in becomes part of this list." Trying to escape, Alex smashed a window in the wall with force. The glass shattered, but outside there was only black darkness. It was as if the school had now been cut off from the world and reached another world. Mark said loudly, "This is all an illusion. This cannot be true." But as soon as he tried to lift the register, the book turned red like burning coals. Suddenly, small children's hands began to emerge from the walls of the room and grabbed Mark's arm. Mark began to scream, "They are pulling me! Save me!" Sarah and Jessica tried to pull Mark, but in vain. Those hands pulled Mark into the fog, and after a few moments, his name on the register began to glow even darker. The truth was revealed. There were only 3 friends in the room now, Alex said in a frightened voice. This school doesn't just hold memories, it holds souls. That's why the register is never empty. Jessica's tears came out. Why did we come here? We should never have come. Suddenly, the register opened automatically at her feet. This time, on the new pages, it was written, Alex Parker soon, Sarah Smith soon, Jessica Hudson soon. Seeing these words, a thrill ran through her body. Finally, Sarah took out her cross-shaped Lucky Charm with trembling hands and slammed it on the principal's desk. Suddenly, a circle of light appeared and the door to the room opened. The 3 of them ran out the door and went into the darkness. But as soon as they reached the school gate, the voices of children began to emerge behind them. You can go, but the names will never be erased. They looked back. Dozens of children's shadows stood in the broken windows of the school. Their eyes were burning red. The end. The next day, the townspeople came to the school. The register was found by itself on the door, open. On its page it was written, Mark Jones is dead, Alex Parker is alive, Sarah Smith is alive, Jessica Hudson is alive. But below, in small letters, a new line was written, they will return. Every survivor will one day be part of the register. The townspeople put the register back in the principal's office. And even today, the laughter and screams of children echo in the darkness of the night from the dilapidated windows of Lincoln School. If you liked this scary journey, be sure to subscribe to our channel, Cursed Narratives, so that you can be the first to find such terrifying and viral horror stories.